Good morning, everybody. Today I'm showing you a recipe that is in my spring and summer ebook. It's a recipe that reminds me a lot of my childhood. It's called Kuku Sabzi. So some of you may already know this recipe. A lot of you that have gotten the book have told me that this is one of the first ones you want to try. So let me run it through you quickly, because although everything's in the book, it's one of these recipes. It's always nice to watch somebody do it, just to make sure you're getting it right. So let me just tell you. And also, it's one of these recipes where there's like a lot of substitutions. It's possible and whatnot, so I prefer to kind of run it by you, you know what I mean. So Kuku Sabzi, all right. Kuku Sabzi is a green omelet. Okay, Kuku is a Persian word that means omelet, or like a dish that's made with eggs, and it's a bit like frittata, like the Italians have frittata, except it has a high vegetable to egg ratio. So you're not going to get the yellowy stuff that you would get with frittata, like the yellow part of the egg and whatnot, of the omelet. So it doesn't look omelette-y. But you'll see, it's delicious. Anyways, and sabzi is herbs, because you can make kuku with many vegetables. You can make it with potato, you can make it with eggplant, and sabzi is herb, and so it's herb kuku, herb omelet. All right, so you need basically oh, my eyes are watering because I'm cutting these scallions. Oh my god. Oh. All right, so you need some, sorry about this, you need herbs. The herbs that I put are spinach or Swiss chard. That is completely optional. Most people don't put it. My mom used to put some spinach, so when I have some, I put some. I don't have any today, so I'm not gonna put any today, but I usually put some. Definitely some scallions. If you don't, you can use scallions, or you can use leeks in the traditional recipe. I think a lot of people use leeks. I prefer scallions because it reminds me of my mom's recipe. You can also put parsley and cilantro, and a very important one is dill, okay? Feel free to play around with the proportions. You basically need like a cup of herbs for every egg, you know? So like a big handful of herbs for every egg. And they're pretty large eggs you should be using. And yeah, so I'm just chopping all of this up. So there you go, my scallions are done. I've got cilantro, I've got parsley, and yeah, and so like I said, use what you want as herbs. You can mix and match. Traditionally it's going to be without the spinach, and it's going to be cilantro, parsley, dill, scallions, or leeks. All right, but like I say, the proportions, do what you want, you know. I mean, I'm not going to get all traditional on you, because I myself was not raised on the traditional recipe, but you'll see, it's delicious whichever herbs you try. Now to this, so I'm going to chop these quite finely. I still remember when I was a kid, watching my mom chop all her herbs, and it would take her forever. It was like, it's the biggest job here is to chop the herbs. So if you wanted to speed this up, you can totally put this in a little kind of food processor to chop them up. I wouldn't do that with the scallions, but definitely with the rest you can. All right, so boom. One thing I wanted to say is dill. Dill is one of these herbs you don't always have on hand, fresh dill. So what I do is that I always got some dry dill, and because I don't have fresh dill today, I'm just going to use this dry dill. So you need a few tablespoons, right? So I'm just going to go and put a few tablespoons, like, you know, Yeah, I'd say like 4 tablespoons of dry dill, because you really want to get that dill taste. I'm going to put some salt. Okay. Salt over here. You need to have something salty. You put turmeric. Okay. Turmeric goes into this. About half a teaspoon. Now, kuku is one of these dishes that is often served for brunch. Like, it's a perfect picnic or brunch item. You can make it in advance, and then it's served cold anyways, so you don't really want it to be hot. You can make it in advance, put it in the fridge, covered, and take it out when you want. It's amazing as a make-ahead meal. It's great for people who like to have salty breakfast, like eggs for breakfast. This is a great one. And great for lunch, brunch, dinner. You know, it's like all day long kind of meal. So it's perfect. So I put my turmeric, salt. I'm putting a bit of baking powder just because it's in all the Iranian recipes. They always put baking powder. Don't ask me why. There must be some chemical kind of reaction that makes it spongy or something. My mom never put baking powder, but all the recipes that I've seen so far, like the traditional ones, they do put baking powder. So I put some. Now you're gonna need some eggs. There you go. So I'm gonna take 4 eggs, and then I might add another one later. We'll see. Now the thing is with kuku is that, like I said, unlike frittata, you don't see the yellow part, right? Like, you're gonna see, I'm putting 4 eggs here. Like, look at all the herbs I've got. Like, I've got, a good 4 cups of herbs, and I haven't even put the spinach in here, which I usually do. There we go. But you totally don't have to put spinach. Right, so I'm going to just mix these real well. You could add the spices into the eggs, right? So you could put the turmeric and the salt and all that into the egg and then into the herbs. I just put everything into the herbs. It doesn't really make a huge difference. So you whisk, whisk, whisk. And then, once it's really well mixed, you put it in here. Okay, and then you mix. Now you're gonna see this thing is like mighty green, and you're not gonna see a whole lot of yellow in here, and you're gonna be wondering like, is this really gonna work? I remember, see that? It's just green, and it's kind of like a gooey green. Don't worry, it will totally work. Don't, please do resist the temptation of adding an extra egg, okay? Because you really do not have to. Now I'm going to take a pan. I've got this pan. So I'm going to put it on high-ish heat, and I'm going to put some olive oil, a generous amount. Okay, why do I put a generous amount? Like a couple of, like in the book I say a 1/3 cup. You could put a bit less, right? But you still want to, like, you want it to be quite covered in oil, right? Because I'll tell you why. You do not want this to be sticking at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would not be cool. Because the big challenge in here is the flipping. The flipping is scary, right? It's kind of like the first time you make a crepe. It's like the flipping of it that's a bit painful, that is a bit nerve-wracking. Same here. The first time I did this, it's like making Spanish tortilla, and you're like, ooh, how am I going to flip this thing? Because it's thick and it's going to break and la-di-da. Don't worry about it. It won't. But just make sure that the thing is not stuck in your pan. So you do want enough oil. The alternative to using a pan is to put it in the oven. That is not what I would say is, like, that's not my preferred kind of way of doing it, just because my mom didn't do it that way. So I have this like emotional kind of memory of, I liked the taste of how my mom did it, and it was fried up. But if you wanted to do it in the oven, you totally can. Just make sure it's a hot oven. And then you do have to oil the thing anyways, the dish. So This pan needs to be hot, so when I'm like doing like this with the oil has to be very liquid. You know how it gets very liquid when it gets quite hot? So I'm gonna put this on high heat, on high-ish heat. The oil I use is olive oil because I use olive oil for most of my cooking. You could use coconut oil because coconut oil does really well with high heat. Now, another ingredient I have, and there are two other ingredients that I haven't put in here, but you totally could, and the traditional recipe asks for it, is barberries. Barberries are like little tiny sour berries that are reddish, like they have this red ruby hue. It's often used in Persian cooking. I don't have any because here in France they're just harder to find. But also, my mom never put them in, so I don't miss it. But most people who, have had the traditional one with the barberries and everything, they're going to want the barberries. But to me, the barberries are also the thing. You either like them or you don't. You're not indifferent about barberries. It's a bit like raisins. You like them or you don't. There's no like, oh, I don't care. You'd always kind of have a leaning towards one or the other with barberries. The other ingredient you could add are walnuts, chopped walnuts. I don't put them, but you totally could. If you have some, put them. So there you go. Oil is hot, so what I'm going to do is pour this into the pan. Okay. There. Right, okay, so it's going to sizzle a little bit, and I don't want it to like burn, right? So I'm not going to make it like sizzle for very long, but I do want it to cook under. So it's going to cook for you put in the herb mix, it sizzles for like a minute, and then you need to cover it and lower the heat for 5-6 minutes, and then you are good to go. Now this morning, I don't know why, this is taking a bit longer to get hot, but anyway. And while that is happening, it is a wonderful time to just clean up, because of the herb chopping, this thing gets messy. And these days, I'm very much into keeping our kitchen clean because I'm cooking so much that I can really make a war zone out of the kitchen. And then I end up having to like clean up for an hour after, and it drives me like cray. So I'm just gonna do that. The rest of the herbs I'll just put in here. There. Okay, and then what you want to do, let me just show you what's going on here in the kitchen. So can I do, okay, so you see how this is bubbling up? You see how green this is, right? Oh, I can smell the smell of these fried up herbs. Oh my gosh, this brings me back to my childhood. You see? So this is what's happening, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to also, to make sure that, this is moving along and it's not staying stuck, I'm going to do that. So I'll let that happen. There we go. Now you've seen my whole entire setup. I'm going to do this. Maybe add a little bit of a sprinkling of salt, and I'm going to lower the heat to like half, so it's like medium, and I'm going to cover this. You could put a little bit more turmeric if you wanted to, you don't have to. I'm going to cover it with this so it really cooks, all right? And then we'll flip it over. So as I was saying, I'm trying to clean as I go, otherwise it's a nightmare. Yeah, anyways, so like I was saying, this is a good one for lunch. You know what it's often served with? Often with like a flatbread or a pita bread. I love it rolled up with a pita bread and some yogurt on the side. You can whip up some yogurt, and maybe like you can even like add cucumbers to the yogurt, like grated cucumbers to the yogurt, a bit of salt, some mint, and serve it as like a side sauce to the omelet wrap with your pita bread. Serve it with alongside rice. I mean, whatever. You just eat it like that, you know. It's just awesome. It's just so good. I think you will like this recipe. If you're into greens and omelets and things, this is definitely one to try. And it doesn't taste like any omelet you've ever had before. It's just there's something about it that's just different. It's not like an omelet. And anybody who's ever tasted this has always really liked it. One of my sons doesn't, but I don't know, he has a thing with parsley that's been cooked. I don't know. Don't ask. Don't ask. So there you have it. And like I said, it's a great one to make in advance, so you don't have to deal with, you know, like, you don't need to do this at the last minute. Like, it's a great one if you're doing homeschooling, for example, and you just want to get this done at night or whatever, and then you can serve it whenever, like the next day, breakfast, lunch, and all of that. So there you go. It's a wonderful spring recipe as well. And yeah, I think it's just really versatile. So there you have it. Those are my tips. I wanted to show you how I flip this. So I'm just waiting for this to cook. But you do want to continue is to toss it so that it doesn't stick, right? There we go. A little bit longer. I'm getting a plate out, all right? And this is a large plate. I'm going to take a dish towel or two, okay? And I'm going to take this pan off the heat for now. I'm going to put it on a no heat. I'm going to put this over the pan. So this is the pan. I'm going to do this in front of you like that. You see what I'm doing. This is the pan. I put this over, okay? This is a large pan and a very large plate. So you just need to make sure you've got the plate that goes with the pan. Now, I have dish towel. I hold the pan at the bottom. My fingers here are at the bottom. The plate is on top, and I'm going to hold this handle, and I'm going to flip. And it flipped. I could hear it. It did not stick. It is beautiful. It is perfect. See this? Beautiful. And then it really easily slips back into this. You see? Perfect. And then you just let it cook for another minute or so, and that's done. And I will show you what it looks like now. You see? Now, it's actually a little bit eggier than it usually is, because I think I probably didn't put as many herbs as I usually put, but still, this is how it kind of looks like. I'm gonna let it cool, so leave it a minute there, turn it off, low heat, and then let it cool completely. And when it's cool, you slice it into wedges and you serve it with your wraps or your pita bread or your flatbreads or just whatever. And it makes for an amazing lunch. So if you want this exact recipe, get my book, check it out. If you've got questions about substitutions, can I add this, can I add that, can I swap this for that, or whatever, just reach out. If you like this video, share it. And if you want more recipes, go to wellmama.com, wellmamma.com. And yeah, and subscribe to the newsletter and get my latest news. Bye.